Doug Karsch, Scott Anderson, 97.1. All right, so look, watching the postseason and not being in it sucks, but hopefully right back next year. Two teams are going to play for the Super Bowl that weren't in the playoffs the year before, so that's cool. I mean, because we're not in the playoffs, so maybe we have that to hang on to. Not that that's the formula. Hey, if you don't make the playoffs one year, you're sure to make it the next. But obviously that's the way the league is, and we already knew that. Another way the league is something that came up today. And Kang, I don't know if I don't want to steal your thunder, if your thunder is even there to be stolen, because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but you made the point today. You think that the analytics are about to change on fourth down attempts? Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't say it's going to end completely, but I think we're headed for a correction of some sort. You know, right now, I think Dan Campbell was kind of like ahead of his time, a pioneer, and just aggressively going for fourth down more than anybody else, right? And we thought at the time hey, they have nothing to lose. This is the type of way they have to win games. But really, it was a culture builder. It was aggressiveness. It was actually a style of play that he thought helped his team give him the best chance of winning. So I agree with the culture building it did. But then you saw it throughout the rest of the league, right? Where coaches were just going for it. As long as they crossed the 50, they were going to go for it. If it was too far for a field goal or something, or even it didn't even matter if they're in field goal range. They just said, we're close enough to, it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2. We can get this and get a touchdown instead, right?
It's really, I mean, there's two things that are working together that have really changed football. Going for it on the fourth down, like you feel like you're in no man's land, might as well go for it, right? The other thing is kickers' range. Like it used to be, I don't know, it's a 50-yard field goal. No, you're going for it. Let's kick a 50-yard field goal. Guys are kicking it well over 60 yards. I don't know if it's a regular basis, but it feels like it's pretty regular. We're seeing 60-yard field goal attempts all over the place.
Yeah.
Most kickers have the ability, at least, to attempt it nowadays. Accuracy might be a little different, but they got the leg strength, right?
Yeah.
And but before this, like, I don't know, was it 10 years ago, 15 years ago? It didn't matter even if you wanted to just punt the ball 30 yards. It was all about field position. And then, you know, of course, back then as well, you take the points when they're there. Just take the points, you move on, no one batted an eye. And if you went for it, everyone thought you were a madman. Like, what are you doing? Nowadays, with the Broncos game versus the Patriots, where Sean Payton decides to go for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the very short field goal, it's debatable. When I think 10, 15 years ago, they would have said he was insane. I think you've seen it backfire a little bit more now in the last couple of years, especially this season, where, Doug, what I was saying to you this morning is, I feel like we're headed for a correction of some sort to go the other way, and we're going to see some more field goals being taken.
I think you might be right on that. We talked about the analytics approach, and they're basing it. I would assume that the analytics is constantly evolving. Like each and every week they update it. But once you get a season's worth of data in there, that maybe you should go for it on 4th and 3. Right.
Well, I mean, in this formula, do they type in Stidham's the quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, all these other things. Hey, it's going to snow like hell the second half of the game.
How's your defense playing at this point and all that? And I still think you're going to see the majority of the time they're going to go for it on 4th and 1.
Too.
And I would have gone for it on 4th and 1 in that situation.
I wouldn't have. I thought that was bad choice, but whatever. My point is, though, I think we will see somewhat of a slight correction where not everyone's going for it all the time.
So Ben Johnson did it twice in field goal range in their playoff game against the Rams, where he passed on a field goal, went for it. Then he actually missed out another 4th down late in the game, but that was down 7. They had to go for it. It was early in the game. It was first quarter. It was second quarter where he passed on a field goal and went for it and didn't get it. You had yesterday, as mentioned. Yeah, I kind of wonder if the era of aggressive 4th downs, the pendulum swinging back, and now the crazy coach out of the box thinker, just kicks the field goal. And you're right. Do analytics take into account Stidham and the weather? Because, I mean, in retrospect, the whole weather thing, dude, it looks like points at a premium. It was predictable that game was going to be low scoring, right? That might have been a huge, huge, huge mistake.
Yeah, you have two great defenses as well, so points in general are hard to score against those two.
And you've got Dan Campbell saying he's looking at everything, and I think it's really, really hard when you've established this identity and it's part of your DNA to then go back and say, I'm going to change some things. 4th down don't be fooled here. Over the course of the Dan Campbell era, 4th down has been very good to Dan Campbell. And 4th down has been very good to the Detroit Lions. And, the fourth down attempts that they converted were extraordinarily helpful.
Yeah, I don't think you can just
historically.
I don't want to take away or neuter or any of that, whatever word you want to use with Dan Campbell when it comes to his aggressiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because every situation is different, and I would hope that that's how he goes into it. I hope there's not this blanket, hey, we're always going to do this or this.
Right.
I don't want it to always. I don't like the blanket always going to do this. I think everything is about circumstances and situations. Like Hank was talking about, it depends on the weather. It depends who you have in personnel, who's available to you. It depends what quarter you're in. It depends what the flow of the game is. All these things matter. And to just assume that you're going to go for it every time when you're at the between the 40 and the 50-yard line of your opponent, when you're in plus territory and it's 4th and 3 or less, you're always going to go for it. It doesn't always have to be that way. There's something to be said for playing a field position game and having a punter that's exceptional that can always pin a team back. Yeah, I've got this in my bag all the time. You want me to hit a 40-yard punt and pin them at the 5-yard line? I can do it every time. Great. That's a weapon. That's an asset.
So, other trends. I've talked a lot about how I believe in the NFL, in this era, offense wins championships. Now, let me be clear about that. That doesn't mean that it's okay to suck on defense. Okay. And it doesn't mean that defense isn't important. I just think in this modern era, offense is more important. I saw a chart today that the last defensive-minded head coach, a guy whose background was in defense, to win a Super Bowl was actually Bill Belichick. But since then, it's been the head coaches have been offensive-first guys. This year, both Vrabel and Mike McDonald, I used to sit with every week and interview when he was the defense coordinator at Michigan. Those guys are defensive-minded guys. Last year, while Sirianni was an offensive, he made his name as an offensive-minded coach, working his way up. Their defense played a big role. I don't know if it's enough to say that things are swinging back in favor of the defenses. It probably isn't for me yet, but it's just something to note. Here's something else that I wonder about a little bit, because it's a decision the Lions are going to have to make coming up. And that is one thing, and again, I think hard and fast rules are dumb. I think you have to be able to adapt, and you can win in a variety of ways. But the trend of winning it all without a high-priced running back is a question that I think you have to ask yourself, because Jahmyr Gibbs is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And Barkley did win it. The year he won it, the Philly won it with him, his cap hit was actually kind of small, relatively speaking.
Well, the other thing is running backs, even if you're a high-priced running back, you're still nowhere near what a high-priced player in the league is.
No, but it seems to be a position that if you look historically at the lead backs for Super Bowl teams, and I just brought it up, last year Barkley's cap hit was 3.8. Clyde Edwards-Helaire before that, 3.4. Isaiah Pacheco before that, less than $1 million. Cam Akers, 1.4. Leonard Fournette, 2.0.
But if you're looking at annual value of their contract,
what do you mean by that?
How much they're getting paid for each year? Like, if I'm just saying, from that standpoint, like the amount of money that they're paying the top running backs is still 60% of what they're paying top receivers.
Yep.
You know, Saquon Barkley is getting paid $20 million a year. Christian McCaffrey is getting paid $19 million a year. Derrick Henry's at $15 million a year. So when the time comes to pay Jahmyr Gibbs, which is sooner than later,
mm-hmm.
you know, if you're looking at a 4-year deal, are you looking at like a 4-year $70 million deal,
mm-hmm.
or 4-year $80 million deal, which is not terrible in the grand scheme of things, but it's also the money is getting more and more expensive because teams are starting to realize we're getting back to using a running back in this league.
It's going to be intriguing
and it matters
to see if that changes, because you know who else has a decision to make? Seattle has a decision to make with Kenneth
mm-hmm.
Walker. And is he going to get a big contract?
He's at a hell of a playoff.
Yep.
And yeah, I think he's going to get a pretty good contract. But I'm not sold that you have to give those running backs those deals. Running backs in the league are, by the way they use them, they're disposable. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I've advocated for allowing running backs to get to free agency quicker so they can make some more money earlier because their careers are going to be cut shorter.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Lions to re-sign Jahmyr Gibbs for sure, but that's going to be a decision to be. It's not going to go lightly.
It would buck the trend depending on what the cap hit actually is. Terrence in Detroit, you're on 97.1. Hi, Terrence.
Doug, Gator, how we doing? Good morning.
We're good.
Terrence.
What's up?
Good. I had a question. I heard you mention defensive and the comment about, you feeling offense wins championships. I was just curious if you felt that would swing towards defensive-minded coaches first with the recent hires of Jesse Minter as a head coach, Robert Saleh back as head coach. Down in Miami, they hired a head coach. Seeing what Vrabel is doing with Drake May, what D'Amico Ryans is doing with C.J. Stroud, even though the Bills didn't do much as far as Super Bowl success, but what Sean McDermott did with Josh Allen, what Dan Quinn did with Jaden Daniels his rookie year, do you think that there's going to be this resurgence where teams
Terrence,
are going to value defense
I'm
first?
not going to be stubborn about it. I'm going to have to see more. And this year it is 2 defensive-minded head coaches. The first time that we're going to get a defensive-minded head coach since Belichick. And Belichick, prior to that, it was Pete Carroll in 2013. It has been a long stretch of offensive-minded head coaches. And yeah, some of these guys are getting opportunities. I'll pay attention and see if it is start to swing back the other way. And, I grew up my whole life believing defense wins championships, and that was a flag that it was hard for me to unplant and change.
I think the formula always is there that you need a great quarterback, you need to protect that quarterback, and then you need game changers on defense.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm curious, though. I guess I'll ask this as a follow-up, and I'll listen. Do you think this is going to force, ratings to plummet, being that this Super Bowl might be, I'm not going to say low scoring, but it's not going to be that shootout that we would have wanted to see with two. We're used to seeing the 2 top offenses playing, but now we're going to see 2 top defenses.
Terrence, it's an interesting point, but we'll get to it coming up. And I question your formula, Gator, that you just established. I'm not sure your formula is accurate.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to all that next hour. Trends in the NFL. It is Karsch and Anderson here on 97.1.